Hello and welcome to the Father and Son Pastime Podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin. How are you?
That's my dad. Dad, also another P. I'm on a Padres shirt. We got all the Pastime Padres, podcast Padres. Oh my God. We're having fun here. Dad, it's the official, we're a couple weeks into the 2022 season now. We're trying to podcast every couple of weeks. We're trying to get into a rhythm again.
Yes.
This guy's retired. Wish him a happy retirement. Not from podcasting.
No.
Not from being my dad.
That's my main job.
That's always is. It's a biggest stressor and concern ever.
That's right.
No, we are throwing it back, Dad, to talk about technically 40-some years ago.
Yeah.
The 1980s.
When I began work.
Look at that. Full circle.
I began work in 1980. So, yeah, that was a busy decade for me.
Well, we're going to be talking about that busy decade and see how much you were watching baseball in that decade.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun doing the Hall of Very Good draft of the 90s and the 2000s, and now we're going to do the 1980s. I don't know, Dad, if the 70s and 60s, 50s could lend itself to such a list because less teams, therefore less players.
But there was really good players in the 60s and 70s.
If
think of the Big Red Machine, Oakland. I mean, the 70s were controlled by really 4 or 5 teams.
And that's what, I don't know, if it would be interesting for you as a viewer to hear our, drafts, our dream team so much. Not so much the dream teams, the drafts of the Hall of Very Good of the 60s and 70s. Yeah. Let us know. I just know that when I came up with this idea to do, talk about the 90s because I felt there was so much Hall of Fame snubs. Mm-hmm. 2000s, I think, has some Hall of Fame snubs. The 80s, in a way, most people on my list are truly Hall of Very Good. I'm not overly upset about most of my lists like I am in the past. I'm upset like 2 or 3 names that make the Hall of Fame.
You're right.
Most make some sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's just a Hall of Good list, if that makes any sense for the 70s. So I want to make sure there's a Hall of Very Good list. If you want to see it at home, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that would be something that would be interesting in research because the people that were the role players of the Oakland Athletics, Cincinnati Reds, the Orioles were very good during that era. Some of those people didn't reach the pinnacle of the Hall of Fame, but they were outstanding role players for their championship teams. The Gene Tennises and the Joe Rudys and all those guys, Burt Campaneris, all great players during the 70s that never made the pinnacle.
Sounds like somebody wants to do it already.
I watched a lot of baseball in the 70s.
That's very true. Dad, when we first started doing the Hall of Very Good drafts, I just ran with it. I mean, I did 90s, 2000s, and 80s, like the research all in the span of a couple weeks. So I'm looking at, good thing information doesn't change from the past. I'm working on 6-7 month old research right here that I had to refresh myself for this podcast. It kind of went to the back burner as we did a lot of stuff to talk about the off season and the lockout and all that. Yeah. But now that we're back into baseball, we're back into a rhythm of things. We're doing this again. So just a quick reminder, this will be our least amount of rules for the Hall of Very Good because it's a little older. This would be the same thing for the 70s, 60s, and 50s. Can't be in the Hall of Fame, obviously. It's a Hall of Very Good ballot. You can't be on the Hall of Fame ballot, but that doesn't really affect anyone in this past, so that's great. So really the only rule besides not being in the Hall of Fame, you got to have been played a majority of the decade. We call majority 7 seasons. Chop that up however you want. 7 years in the 1980s. Quick 2 names that eliminates that is Eric Davis and Brett Saberhagen. But honestly, there's a lot of other great names on this that they won't truly be missed so much. As you well know, Dad, I gotta get a deck of cards. Let me go get a deck of cards. Keep talking to the fans at home.
Oh, good, solo. This is what the fans been looking for quite some time. The comments that I've been getting have been, we needed more solo of just Kevin, and they say, hey, seems like you know a little bit more about baseball, and he's back, so we have to stop that.
You're too fun. All right, so obviously for those fans, we know that we draw a card in order to determine draft order. Usually the person who draws obviously the higher card takes the first pick. You don't have to.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, totally.
The people that played in the 80s that were snubbed by the Hall of Fame because of steroids, they are eligible or not eligible?
So if the 1980s, all same requirements. If you played 7 seasons or more and you're not currently in the Hall of Fame, you're eligible for this list.
Terrific.
So I'm curious to hear some of your thoughts. Are you thinking Canseco or something like that?
You got Bonds, you got Clemens.
If they played 7 seasons, yeah. I don't know off the top of my head if Bonds played 7 seasons in the 80s, but can check.
Yeah.
just, a lot of cool jerseys, cool Pirates jerseys. I mean, that should be in the Hall of Fame. Bonds' Pirates jersey. They were gorgeous.
They had really good teams back then too. That was a tail end of the We Are Family as well, because they was there in the 70s as well, and you had Stargills and all those guys. Yeah. So yeah, interesting.
And now that Bonds and Clemens are officially off the Hall of Fame ballot, they also would be eligible. I just don't think they did 7 seasons in the 80s, but
I think Clemens may have, but they're possibilities. That's all I ask for.
We'll check. They're not on my list, but that's okay.
Okay.
So, Dad, drawing. Feel free to draw any card you want.
I always win.
You have one majority of the times. Jack of all trades. Let's go.
And a 2 for Patrick. That's 3.
Always is. I draw 3 so many times. All right, Dad. So, do you want the first pick or the wraparound, the 2-3 pick?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm gonna start just kind of unique, just because there was a lot of talent at this position. So I'm gonna start at first base.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go Will Clark as my first baseman for that.
Will Clark.
Yeah, he was really underrated. He was sensational during that time, and I'm thinking that his stats were terrific, and I just liked the way he had power and average, and defensively he was very good.
What a compliment to Will Clark being drafted in the first round, but he didn't play 7 seasons in the 80s.
Okay.
Are you thinking of Jack Clark?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay. I'll change.
So Will Clark, honored but not eligible.
All right. Well, then my second pick, same position, Don Mattingly.
Don Mattingly also was my second pick, so thank you for allowing an easy draft. So Don Mattingly, great pick. You want to talk more about Don?
He just was a steady influence on the Yankees during that time. He's probably one of the few steady stars of the Yankees during that time. The fans loved him. He seemed to be good PR for the Yankees, handled the media well. Really never got his due. Probably never hit enough home runs for the Hall of Fame. And I think that might have been his shortcoming, but everything else was a very talented baseball player.
When the Hall of Fame ballot had eligibility for 15 years, now I think it's only 10, Mattingly was on all 15 ballots. So he never fell off due to lack of interest. He just never got the majority, or the maximum majority, whatever the word is, to get in the Hall of Fame. He had a great career, 5 Gold Gloves, 1 MVP season, usually averaged 300-plus a year. He did have a lot of power RBI numbers. He was more of an RBI guy than a
20
home
home runs, 100 RBIs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Mattingly, great now. He's coaching and all that good stuff. So
managing the Miami...
the Fish.
The Marlins.
The Miami Marlins.
Yeah.
Great pick, Dad. I think there's a few names in here that I think should be in the Hall of Fame. I think Don's on that list, Donnie Baseball. But still, on that position, he was number 2 for me. We'll get into that. To give a slight pause for a second, just to give more details, we draft every position, but we draft on the basis of, hey, either there's not that many people good at this position or very good at this position, or we're trying to honor someone that was really a Hall of Fame snub, which is where I'll go in my next draft. We draft every position, 3 outfielders, a DH, and a pitcher. And, Dad, if you want to, I do have some manager options as well to manage this Hall of Very Good team.
Okay.
I have easily 2. If you didn't do that research, I can usually share my wealth.
Okay.
I'm going to go with who I believe, on my list at least, has the highest WAR amongst any Hall of Very Good applicant that didn't make the Hall of Fame. And that is Lou Whittaker at second base. Lou Whittaker, for me, a big Hall of Fame snub. If Alan Trammell gets in, Lou Whittaker gets in. 3 Gold Gloves during the 80s, 5 All-Stars, 75 career WAR. That is 7th highest all-time for second baseman, highest for second baseman not in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Daddy has a higher career WAR than Sandberg or Alomar, yet he's not in the Hall of Fame. I know it's only one metric.
And I think it was the power numbers, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But Trammell is not in the Hall of Fame, correct?
I think Trammell is in the Hall of Fame.
Really?
I think he got in very recently.
Okay, with the senior vote?
I don't think it was BBWAA.
Okay.
We have a lot of acronyms here in baseball.
Okay.
But Allen, I believe, got in very recently. Yes, he is a member of the Hall of Fame.
Okay. Terrific.
Yes. I'm trying to see real quick what he got, how he got in. Yes, Veterans Committee in 2018. Yeah, so not the
Okay.
baseball
Well, why
writers.
didn't they put Lou at the same time? Crazy, isn't it?
Maybe at some point in the future.
Okay.
But
right.
Lou Whittaker is my second pick, and because he drafted first, I get back-to-back picks here, and then he'll get back-to-back picks, and so on and so forth. So my second overall pick, Dad, third pick in the draft. I will also go with someone I think deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and that is center fielder Dale Murphy. The only eligible Hall of Very Good applicant that has had 2 MVP years. So he's my double MVP. Just a fantastic player. Great with the community. 5 Gold Gloves, 7 All-Stars during the 1980s. So absolutely great kickoff here, Dad. Getting 2 people I desperately wanted. Happy that I drew a 3.
Okay. I'm going to go with, I think, one of my favorite players of all time. Always in the background of just stellar outfielders. Probably the best defensive right fielder during that time, Dewey Evans, or as he's known as Dwight Evans. So again, Red Sox, steady guy, really happy with Dwight. Fan favorite. Didn't probably hit enough to get the higher acclaim in life, but what a great all-around player.
Very nice, Dad. Who would you like to draft after Dewey?
I'm going with my shortstop. I'm going with a guy whose longevity was his key. Great hitter and everything else. He started as a shortstop. Julio Franco.
He was on my list. My list.
Yes.
Incredible high average.
Yes, and in his later years was probably the number 1 pinch hitter in baseball. So he might have played 20 plus years.
Julio Franco, I think, was also on your list for utility guy when we did a draft of the team utility. Check me on that at home, people, super fans.
I'm sure they have at the ready.
You'd be surprised. Baseball people love stats. Julio Franco, only 1 All-Star during the 1980s, but just consistently an underrated player. I'm glad you drafted him. I can also sit on my shortstops then, Dad. You haven't taken my number 1 pick in any category. I feel really good. I also have back-to-back picks here. I could easily clear my outfield. I don't want to do that just yet. I'm going to take my catcher.
No.
I think there's 2 really great catchers during the 80s that weren't obviously Hall of Famers, but one is superior to all, and that's Lance Parrish. He has 6 All-Stars, 3 Gold Gloves, and he had power, 20 home runs, 80 RBIs for a catcher. Put the context of the 80s in there, incredible. Truly an incredible catcher. Not a Hall of Famer. Obviously, it's not someone I'm sad that didn't make the Hall of Fame, but deserves to be a starter on the Hall of Very Good team.
Darn it.
That's my guy. There's options for you, Dad, there.
I know.
I can sit on a couple other positions. I'm going to take another MVP, Dad.
Okay.
I'm going to take George Bell in left field.
Great player.
George Bell's my left fielder. I don't want to say too much about him. I think he had some really great seasons. Not a Hall of Famer. But when there's an MVP winner out there, I got to go grab him. I just feel that magnetism to get him on my team. So 2 outfielders, but 3 MVPs so far for me.
And one of the great things you remember about George Bell was the playoff game in Chicago, the Bartman. That was a great one and everything else.
You talking Moises Alou?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm confused.
I'm talking
My
George
fault.
Bell, the Blue Jay.
Yes. And he played with the Cubs and the White Sox.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he got around.
Yeah. My turn, eh?
Yes, your turn, A.
Okay. I am going with a third baseman that was revered in Oakland for a long time. Again, one of those guys probably just didn't hit enough for power, but defensively was one of the best around. Carney Lansford is my third baseman.
Carney Lancer, not even on my list. I good pick though. I think he's eligible for the '70s draft too.
Yeah, he played in Oakland for 10 years.
Carney Lansford. Not many people getting named Carney Lansford anymore. No, full '80s. You're right.
Yeah.
78, 92.
There you go.
Good career.
And then I need to go get some speed in my lineup. And I'm going with somebody that was revered in St. Louis as my left fielder, Vince Coleman.
Vincey Coleman.
Yes.
So just speed there, not much.
Oh, I love the way he played baseball, and he was one of the top offensive players during that decade.
So Vince Coleman started in '85. So no Vince Coleman.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to shift around and get Jim Rice.
Jim Rice is in the Hall of Fame.
No way. Okay.
No way Jim Rice. That would have been a first draft.
Wow.
That would have been an easy first draft, yeah.
Well, then I'm going Freddie Lynn.
Freddie Lynn's not in the Hall of Fame, so let's
Freddie Lynn.
We're just going Red Sox on Red Sox on Red Sox. We got Dewey Evans, you know.
I know, that was a great outfield back then. His number one outfield in baseball.
Yeah, fantastic. You're getting all Angel Fred Lynn, though, really no real Red Sox. He played 1 year for the Red Sox in the 80s, but that was it. Okay. Freddie Lynn, and so he's your left fielder?
Correct.
And then Dewey's in right. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. All right, Dad, you got some people. And then you got your Carney Lansford. I'm going to go draft my pitcher because that has not been taken yet. I'm feeling very good about my team so far, catching Lance Parrish, but who is going to be throwing to him? And that is Mr. Dave Stewart.
Great choice.
Dave Stewart had 3 20-win seasons in the 1980s and is the 56th best pitcher of all time. He's above 6 Hall of Famers, but he is one behind my 1990s draft, Kevin Brown. So very similar pitchers there. I'm thinking Kevin Brown should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm a little iffy on Dave Stewart, but I would love to see him own those Nashville Stars, talking relative media, relevant news. But yeah, he put in a bid to be the first minority-owned baseball team, MLB baseball team. So I hope that Nashville Stars come to fruition.
You know what? It'd be great because in that area, it really doesn't have any competition with Major League Baseball. So it would draw well, and it's a booming area. So I think for tourism and everything else, that's a huge plus.
They have the Nashville, I think, Sounds as a minor league team, so who knows what would happen with that. But that's the future. Dave Stewart, we're talking in the past.
Yeah.
We're talking 80s Dave Stewart, flamethrower.
Yeah.
I know this sounds... No, I'm not going to do it. I was going to think about drafting my manager early, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go get Mad Dog. Give me Bill Madlock at third base. We're talking Pirates. We're talking cool uniforms earlier. Bill Madlock only had 2 All-Star games during this time, but has a super high average for a third baseman. I mean...
He won a batting title 1 year with the Cubs.
He's won multiple batting titles, 4-time batting champs, but 2 were in the 80s. Lifetime 305 average. Not a lot of power. I don't think there was one season he hit over 20 home runs, but he had like 100 RBIs. So he just knew how to get doubles and stretch those hits. So plus a coolest nickname on my team so far. I got Mad Dog holding down the hot corner.
Okay. All right. I'm going with what I was going to try to do was get Lance Parrish as my catcher, but you stole him.
Can't do that.
I know. But I'm getting his battery mate as my pitcher, Jack Morris.
Jack Morris is I don't like Jack Morris, but he's in the Hall of Fame.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Jack Morris fans. I don't think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Especially with Kevin Brown not in.
All right. Well, then I'm going with his next best friend, Dwight Gooden.
Doc! Okay. I think he served enough years.
Yeah, because he was big in the early 80s.
Dwight. 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89.
No?
He started in 84.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm going Fernando Valenzuela.
Yes. He's another Cy Younger.
Yes.
Good pick, Dad. Dodger fans are loving you right now.
Yeah, they should. And then he needs to throw to a great catcher. One of the best defensive catchers in that era. Leader of the Pirates, Tony Pena.
3 Gold Gloves, Tony Pena.
Yeah.
We're not going to do snubs yet, people at home, because there's still that DH available. And speaking of great hitters, I need a first baseman. And I can think of none other. This is my actual first choice at first base, even though you took Don Mattingly. You passed over who I think's a slightly better overall player, Keith Hernandez. Keith Hernandez.
I was going to do that in a whole Seinfeld thing, but I said, no, that'd take up too much time.
No, I don't think so. Keith Hernandez had 9 Gold Gloves in the 80s.
Yeah.
He was an MVP during that time, too. Like I said, we got to go grab those. Again, not a lot of power, but a ton of RBIs per season and a great average. Plus, he's a funny guy. I mean, being willing to be on Seinfeld, I think that says something about his character.
And
I'm building a good clubhouse.
And multiple episodes of Seinfeld.
Yes, he was on the finale, too.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to build a good clubhouse and a good team, and I'm loving what I'm doing so far. So Keith Hernandez is my bopper. I actually don't have that many boppers. I would say George Bell is probably my biggest bopper so far, home run wise.
Yeah.
But while we're talking about boppers, let's go get a bopper. Let's go get Darryl Strawberry, also out of New York. Darryl Strawberry will be my right fielder for every single reason you're thinking at home. I think he is a great player. I actually like his attitude. I think with the right manager, you can really do well.
I thought he came up with Dwight Gooden. I didn't know if he had enough in the 80s, because him and Gooden came up at the same time.
Strawberry started in 83, Gooden in 84.
Bingo.
So just missed it, yeah.
Look at that. That's pretty good memory, though.
Yep. And all Mets teams were from the 80s. Was a home run leader one year.
Oh, yeah, he could hit a baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rookie of the Year, his first year in 83, so thanks for that. And then All-Star every other 80s season. Yeah. Happy guy right here. Great pick, Patrick. Winning this draft. The
great story about Darryl, he was, I think, with an American League team, and they were playing the Orioles. He hit a line drive to center field that bounced off the center field wall in Camden Yards that screamed out of the park, left the park in seconds, and hit that brick wall so hard that it bounced back to the padded wall and just landed. But people who were at that game said never got above like 10 or 11 feet. It was a line drive, and they said if that he didn't hit that wall, it probably been 450, 470. That's how hard he hit baseball.
Oh, Wall's already at that 450 mark.
Yeah.
Well, I feel so good about my pick, Dad. Thanks for just putting the icing on the cake there. I'll kick it back to you for some lower level picks, apparently.
All right, here we go.
I think you round out your draft here, and then it goes for me. I got to get a shortstop. No, I got to get a DH still. I got shortstop, DH, and manager left.
And do we do relief pitchers or just starting pitchers?
No, we just do starters.
Okay, terrific. Okay, well, I need to infield, second baseman, one of the great second basemen that really didn't get his due, Juan Samuel of the Phillies. And he is one of my top choices.
Not even on my list.
Juan had a great career.
He qualifies, but he just wasn't on my list.
Yep. And then I need a center fielder and the great running back from New Jersey that turned down a scholarship at the University of Maryland, played pro baseball, Willie Wilson.
Center fielder?
Yep.
Nice. Definitely great speed with Willie. Won't give you any bad comments about him. Your boy Juan Samuel led the league in strikeouts for 4 straight seasons.
Yeah, but he was...
Just saying.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as a second baseman defensively and RBIs, he was probably the star of the 80s for the Phillies, when they weren't so great, but he was a great second baseman.
Yeah. Okay. So you are good. You have your full roster. You had a DH there too, right?
I can pick one, yes.
So we got to get back to, it'll go 2 to me, and then you get a DH and a manager, and then I close with the manager.
Okay. I didn't research managers, but you'll help me with that.
I will. Actually, might pick one of my managers first, just to help. Because if I just show you my choices, you get the best of the both.
Okay.
God, so many options that are still out there. I got to close out shortstop, so I guess I'll do that first. I'm going to take Tony Fernandez over Dave Concepcion. I know that's going to make some Cincinnati fans sad. I thought Tony Fernandez was better defensively. And I don't know, just again, I'm kind of building a lot of Blue Jays team here. I noticed it seems very Blue Jay-y and Medi. But I'm okay with that. I mean, I really like Tony at short. Dave's a close second. I don't think I'll be taking him as my DH, though. Dad, as a manager, I thought this was probably something I was really worried about because he could play multiple positions. But he could also manage the team. It's Pete Rose, everybody. I'm taking not Hall of Famer, but 100% should be in the Hall of Fame, Pete Rose, as my player manager. So we haven't had one of those yet.
Wow.
Player manager, Pete Rose.
He played for 3 decades.
He did play for 3 decades and long enough, 7 seasons in the 80s, too.
Yeah.
Some of that was managing, obviously.
Yeah.
But as he qualifies as both. So I'm very happy to get him, snag him, player manager. Dad, the other great option was Billy Martin during this time.
Yeah.
So now I'll show you that. So you can pick a DH and a manager, and then I'll come back to finalize with my DH.
All right. My DH, unheralded first baseman, played for Milwaukee for a long time, was a leader of that clubhouse, and a great, steady first baseman. Cecil Cooper is my DH, and then Billy will be my manager.
Okay, sounds good.
And that'll give me a little more pop in my lineup.
Need a little pop. Little pop. Is that your best hitter? Best pop hitter?
Yes. Of the people I have left, yes, it
You got
is.
Dewey and Fred Lynn can hit.
I know Dewey's on my lineup already.
I know, that's what I'm saying. He can hit.
Yeah, but it gives me a left-handed power bat.
Okay.
I look at lineups as well.
I know. I look at fantasy.
I look at I'm a manager and I'm picking up my lineup.
Or is this fantasy? All right. I got a lot of options, Dad.
For your DH?
Yes, I do, and I just got to pick which one I think has the... Poof. I'm thinking about Von Hayes. I literally wrote, do a Von Hayes joke in my notes, and I waited.
That's fantastic. He was a great player.
Thank you.
He's a great player.
Yeah,
Philadelphia was lean in those days. So him and Juan Samuel was like the key components.
I got to take Kirk Gibson.
Oh my goodness gracious!
I think Kirk Gibson.
It's a shame he had injuries because he would have been a great player.
Right, and again, being in that DH role, I think he'll succeed if he only has to focus on hitting.
Yeah.
So there's my team, Dad. I'm going to recap it from catchers through DH. Lance Parrish behind the dish, Keith Hernandez, Lou Whitaker, Tony Fernandez at short, Mad Dog Bill Madlock at third. My outfield is star-studded. George Bell, Dale Murphy, Darryl Strawberry.
Yeah.
DH is Kirk Gibson. On the bump is Dave Stewart. Managing is Pete Rose. Run me through yours.
Here we go. Catcher, Tony Pena. First base, Don Mattingly. Second base, Juan Samuel. Shortstop, Julio Franco. Third base, Carney Lansford. In the outfield, I have Dwight Evans, Willie Wilson, and Fred Lynn. Damn good outfield. And my pitcher, Fernando Valenzuela, the left-handed machine that had a great career with the Dodgers and everything else. And manager, Billy Martin.
It's a good team. I think I won the draft. Let's talk.
Let's let the audience decide.
Please comment below who won the draft. The very well-balanced, good clubhouse of mine, or the...
I think defensively, I may, stay up with you.
All right, 9 Gold Gloves. Keith Hernandez to your 5 at Don Mattingly. Tony Pena and Lance Parrish have the same amount of Gold Gloves. Lou Whitaker definitely has more than Juan Samuel. I don't think Juan Samuel ever got a Gold Glove, to be honest.
How about Carney?
Let's look up. But Madlock doesn't have any Gold Gloves.
No, but Carney does.
Fernandez does. Let's look up Carney.
Carney had...
I bet Carney's got 2.
I bet he has more.
Let's bet right now how much.
$5.
Let's bet. He has never got a Gold Glove.
Wow.
No Gold Glovers. So I'll take $5. Making money, guys. Let's look at some...
Dang it. Dewey had a lot of Gold Gloves, I'll tell you that much.
Let's look at some snubs. I thought, catching-wise, Terry Kennedy was better than Tony Pena. He played the most. Not a lot of 80s catchers played more than 120 games a year. Terry Kennedy averaged 140. So if you're looking at someone that's healthy and stable behind the dish, Terry Kennedy is probably the best. Other considerations were Bob Boone and Jody Davis.
I was going to go Jody just to sing a song.
I feel that. First base / people that could play DH, I thought we actually grabbed the best 3. You got Cecil Cooper. Steve Garvey is a consideration. Mm-hmm. Jack Clark and Kent Herback. Options. Second base, Dad, I'm very surprised you did not grab Frank White. If you wanted someone that was a talented defender, he's superior to Juan Samuel. Bobby Grich, snub even at the Hall of Fame level. He actually is just a notch below WAR with Whittaker. Mm-hmm. Bobby Grich is also better than Sandberg and Alomar in that regard.
Yeah.
No Willie Randolph, Steve Sachs, or Harold Reynolds. Thought that was a little sad. I think Dave Concepcion for the Reds fans will be the big snub at short. Buddy Bell or Gary Gaddy at third. Just tough snubs. Outfielders, Darryl Evans, you can make an argument for. Willie McGee, I mean, he had MVP out there. Mm-hmm. Ken Griffey Sr. Dave Parker. Outfielder named Dwayne Murphy, who had 6 Gold Gloves during that time. Big glove guy.
Okay.
Gorman Thomas,
yeah.
Power.
Yeah.
Jesse Barfield. Just some big names. Von Hayes. Pitcher, Dad, I would not have taken Valenzuela as my 2. If I didn't get Stewart, I would have gone with Oral Hershiser, so another Dodger.
I had him.
And then you can make an argument for Frank, is it Viola, Ron Guidry, right, and Dave Stibe.
Yep.
I think it's Stibe.
Got them all.
Yeah. But just wanted to throw it out there, even in this draft of the Hall of Very Good, some people still get snubs. If we didn't even talk about somebody's name, please let us know.
Yeah.
I was not born in this decade and didn't watch a single 80s game outside for highlights years later. This guy was. So did he do better knowing the decade and living in it, or was he too focused on personal connections and people who he liked to watch versus maybe actually who was better on stats on paper, just a better player on the field?
Guilty.
I love these, Dad. I feel it's one of our faster drafts.
Yeah.
Just because it goes really quickly.
Yeah. I like it when it goes 1-1, then that one. I think that makes it go faster.
Has some rhythm for sure.
Yeah.
So right at 30 minutes out, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. The lovely Dugout Mugs Father and Son Pastime podcast. Please give us a like on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We are at Pastime Podcast _ on Twitter and Instagram, and the Father and Son Pastime Podcast on Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah, it was fun. The lot of players that were good players during that era, not worthy of a Hall of Fame, but just the level of baseball was kind of going up and everything else. And baseball is sport for the generations. Hopefully, people will still keep it the great sport it is and keep following it.
Enjoy 2022.
Yeah.
Enjoy the more hopeful rise of Shohei Ohtani, the return of Mr. Acuna Jr., and let's have some fun.
Yeah.
And let us know if you want us to do the 60s, 70s, or even 50s version of this style of draft.
Yeah. Seihei's look good for Rookie of the Year, by the way.
Early predictions. Thanks for watching.
Bye.